Hello, everyone. This video is a little late now. I just wanted to make sure we had all the current, most recent updates on the Storm Prediction Center forecast. So, this is the severe weather outlook for today, Friday. So, one reminder when the SPC issues these outlooks, they are meant to be at the most 24-hour outlooks and maybe less. Depending on when they're issued, but they're in the morning, they're meant to go from 7 a.m. to 7 a.m. So this morning's were 7 a.m. to 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, Saturday. This is the late morning, early afternoon update that's supposed to go from now to 7 a.m. So it's just an important point because when you look at this, you might think, well, we're in for severe weather this afternoon here because we're on a level 2, but that's really not the case. This is really meant to kind of encompass storms that have already left or might develop and leave here today, and storms that will develop out here and roll in here later on tonight toward tomorrow morning. As long as that happens before 7 a.m., it's considered part of this forecast. So sometimes you have to just kind of go in here and dig into this, and these outlooks are not meant to be that specific. And, when you get down to the mesoscale discussions and the actual watches that are issued, those are targeted for much more specific timescales. Now, having said that, we'll take a look at the tornado forecast for today. Now, the boot heel is forecast to get in on some thunderstorm activity here today. And again, this is pretty much far displaced from most of the Ozarks. And even though about half of the Ozarks are in a 2% risk, I have a feeling that initially these storms that redevelop and slide toward this brown area, which is 5%, are not going to be that bad. But nevertheless, it is out there. The probability does exist for refiring here and then for stuff that might slide in from out here later on tonight. Let's take a look at NATOcast. I usually put this in the morning severe thunderstorm outlook video, and this one is just updated on the latest model data. So it kind of emphasizes the 5% areas right in line with the SPC here. And this new area here, but I have a feeling that most of that was the morning squall line. I don't think that much of that has to do with morning activity, but it could. Some of this could be meant for another squall line that will look amazingly like this morning's that will roll through northwest Arkansas. So we'll take a look at that. Let's just take a look at a series of slides here. This is the NAM simulated radar for 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. So we see this new area of showers and thunderstorms developing out in Kansas and sliding this way, and this kind of extended area of showers and storms. This could have some severe thunderstorms in it. I don't think it would be tornadic. And this would be a solid line. And occasionally you do get embedded weak tornadoes in those. And this would be moving in our direction for later on Saturday mornings. This is 7 a.m. Saturday. So you can just kind of interpret this as sliding in this direction, doing something like that during the day. In fact, if you go to 7 p.m. on Saturday, this is gone. So, the idea that you have severe weather outlooks covering the Ozarks today, tomorrow, and Sunday does not mean it's a continuous threat. So here by 7 p.m. tomorrow, we're actually taking a slight break. There might be a few renegade showers and a clap of thunder behind that. But I think much of late Saturday and overnight Saturday and even on most of Sunday will be actually relatively dry. So does that fly in the face of this forecast for Saturday? It's a level 2 out of 5 severe weather threat. The vast majority of this is meant to be that morning activity that slides through. And there's an overlap between 7 a.m. and the next forecast day, which is Saturday. So it's really just kind of encompassing this, moving on through. It's not to say that some of these thunderstorms later in the day, especially out east, might not obtain a few severe characteristics, but I would say that's not the most likely scenario. Same with the tornado forecast. It's just a broad brush for that same overlap. So it's that morning squall line and as it moves along and through the Ozarks during the morning hours and then out east in the early afternoon hours, that we're really watching. As a matter of fact, if you take a look at the CSU tornado probabilities for Saturday, you can kind of see that only the eastern half of the Ozarks are really under that, and that it's really meant to get going once it gets past us. So in the Tennessee River Valley there, right around the boot heel of Missouri. So that explains that. Now let's explain Sunday. Again, it looks like an all-day, wow, what's going on kind of thing. That's really not the case. And I'll show you a radar here in a second. Most of Sunday is actually going to be fairly dry. With maybe an isolated shower or thunderstorm, but the severe weather threat once again is reserved for what's going to happen in the evening. We can take a look at the CSU probabilities here, and it really doesn't get excited about tornadoes at all in Missouri, only out in Texas and parts of the other states surrounding. And then on Sunday, yeah, again, the front that's going to generate this is right there. So we have this hail probability that really doesn't, the highest doesn't even get into southwest Missouri. Same with the wind threat. It's there, but it's mostly down to our south. So one last thing we'll look at here, not the last thing, but the last severe weather discussion. This is the simulated radar for 7 p.m. on Sunday. So we do have a squall line, or at least some broken thunderstorms that are going to develop along that front. And there may be some activity out here in the more unstable air. Maybe not necessarily connected with the front, but maybe a trough or a dry line out there will help to get that stuff going. But that will never have time to get into the Ozarks, but this front will cut that off way before that happens. Okay, so now what about the rainfall? It just continues to rain across the Ozarks. And yes, over the next 3 days, this is what the government QPC, quantitative precipitation QPF, quantitative precipitation forecast, indicates. So we have 2, 3, 4 inches of rain starting in extreme southwest Missouri and then going and reaching its peak down there in eastern and southeastern Oklahoma. That's been the case for the last couple of days. As far as just outlook's concerned, there is a slight risk, at least a 15% chance of excessive rain for this activity. It's expected to flare up today and tomorrow, and then mostly over the next 3 days, this area here. So we're sitting here looking at this and going, okay, well, we could have some some heavy rain, flooding rains, keeping in mind that any rain is going to impact because it's been saturated to that's the only word you can describe our soils across southwest Missouri is saturated. We've just had a lot of rain, so anything that falls is potentially troublesome. And in fact, you can look at Saturday's extended rain forecast, and it really kind of shifts away from the Ozarks and more down to our south and east. So that's at least some good news. And then Sunday, like I said, most of the day looks dry. That little squall line probably won't add significantly to rainfall. And then after that, it actually does quiet down in the Ozarks for much of the early and the mid part of next week.